mind is like a flashlight. Wherever you shine the light is what you'll see. When I was a little boy, my mom told me that phrase all the time. Now tell me, do you think your flashlight shines more on positive things or on negative things? According to the National Science Foundation, an average person has about 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts per day. Of those, 80% are negative. You're probably sitting there saying, that's ridiculous. I do not have negative thoughts 80% of the time. But take a moment and really think. When you woke up, did you smile and stretch out your arms and say, another beautiful day? Or did you shut off your alarm clock and say, oh man, I forgot to email that guy from work? Did you look in the mirror and say, I am having a good hair day today? Or did you focus on that zit that wasn't there yesterday? I'm Damian Barton, and today we're going to talk about why your thoughts are so negative, and I'm going to tell you one easy exercise you can use to think more positively. So what's the point of negative thoughts? Negative thoughts are a really important survival skill. When you say to yourself, that guy looks creepy, or God, this milk tastes terrible, you're giving yourself a warning about a possible threat. To the caveman of 200,000 years ago, this was the thing keeping them alive. It was the skill that let them know a tiger was waiting in the bushes, or food had went bad and it's going to make them sick. But nowadays, truth be told, we've solved most of the problems. We conquered the animal kingdom, and unless you work for Joe Exotic, it's very unlikely that a tiger will attack you. We don't have to worry about the speed at which food spoils because we have refrigerators. And even if you did get sick, we have modern medicine, which is remarkably good at keeping you alive. There's a reason that the average age expectancy of today is 72, while the average lifespan of our caveman ancestors was 30. We don't live in the same world as those cavemen, but we have the same bodies as them. Because negative thoughts kept our ancestors safe, more people with negative thoughts survived and passed on that survival strategy. You see, negative thoughts carry more weight to them than positive or neutral thoughts. You pay more attention to negativity. This phenomenon is called the negativity bias. Laurie J. Cameron summarizes this beautifully in her book, The Mindful Day, when she says, our brains are like Velcro for negative thoughts and Teflon for positive ones. Let me ask you, which one did you notice first? I'll bet you anything that you noticed the angry face first. We recognize negative information faster than we do positive. This survival strategy has kept us alive for generations. It let us avoid the snake slithering in the grass. It made us aware of the bushes rustling. It works so well that we're still here. We didn't get eaten. But as good of a strategy as it was in the past, it is a terrible survival strategy for modern life. We don't need the same level of negative thoughts to keep us safe as our caveman ancestors. There's actually a lot of evidence that we need just the opposite. In Ilana Boniwell's book, Positive Psychology in a Nutshell, she talks about why you want to cultivate positive emotions. Emotions don't just stay still. They're flowing, they're changing. One emotion leads to the next. So for example, if someone keeps tapping their pencil, your minor annoyance is going to build into anger. Or if you're already sad and everyone seems disinterested in you that day, your sadness might evolve into feelings of depression. If you have one negative thought, it's more likely that your next thought is going to be negative. When I get worried about an upcoming test, I don't just stay at that same point of initial worry. It builds. Towards the end of my undergrad, I had this class called Research Methods, which was where you learned all of the math for conducting experiments. Now I had one test to go to either pass or fail the class. I needed this to graduate. The night before the test, this is what my thinking sounded like. I really need that test to go well tomorrow. I bet it's gonna be super hard. I really hope I don't fail. I better not fail, I mean, if I do, I'm so screwed. I'll have to repeat the class, and how much money is that? Oh my God, I'm gonna lose thousands of dollars because of failing a test. Plus, with the extra semester, I'm gonna have to extend my lease. Where am I gonna get that money? Now my heartbeat's quickening, my breath is quickening. You see how I'm panicking about the consequences of the test? It started off as being a bit of worry, but as it builds, my body's going to release more and more stress hormone, like like adrenaline, which will wear my body out and keep me from resting the night before the test. So, if you have a negative emotion, you're more likely to spiral down into a series of negative emotions. And on the other hand, if you have a positive emotion, you're more likely to spiral upward into a series of positive emotions. You can't think a positive and a negative thought at the same time. The positive thought tends to cancel out the negative one. If I could catch that I'm going down this negative spiral of thinking, I can try to reverse the direction by actively thinking a positive thought. When I was freaking out about the test and I heard those thoughts start, I bet that test is going to be super hard. I hope I don't fail. I could have stopped and taken a deep breath, and I'm going to try to focus on the positives of the situation. I hope I don't fail. Wait, why would I fail? I've studied for this. I put in the work. I'm gonna do good, you'll see. Those positive thoughts interrupt the link of negative thoughts. It halted the momentum of the thought. A positive thought cancels out a negative thought. Bad stuff is going to happen to you. I'm not a fortune teller. It's just statistically very unlikely that you will go through life without being dumped, without getting fired, or without experiencing the death of a loved one. Bad stuff will inevitably happen to you. And when those things happen, you don't want to be swallowed by those experiences. You want to mourn, but you don't want to be so depressed that you don't leave bed for the next 10 months. You want to be resilient. You want to be able to recover and bounce back. It's time for the
takeaway tape.
In Ilana Boniwell's book, Positive Psychology in a Nutshell, she talks about this idea that you can't just will an emotion into being. Even if you partake in something pleasant, it doesn't guarantee positive emotions because they depend on our interpretations. The key to feeling more positive is reframing negative thoughts as positive ones. Reframing is a big subject that will require its own episode, but this is just a rough introduction to it. Set a timer for 10 minutes. Go about your business like normal, but pay attention to the thoughts you're having. Listen to that internal narrator. This could be anything from looking out your window and saying, "Another cloudy day?" to opening up the fridge and saying, "Oh man, we're out of milk." It doesn't have to be catastrophic to be negative. Pick 2 of the negative thoughts you had and focus on what you were being negative about. Can you find something positive about it instead? For example, if I was looking out the window, instead of focusing on the cloudy day, what if I focused on my rose bushes? Their color is so gorgeous this time of year. It's literally training your mind to focus on the glass half full. The more you do this, the more pleasant life becomes, because you're training your brain to notice the positive. So to summarize, negative emotions have their place in life and have kept our ancestors safe from danger for thousands and thousands of years. But in modern day, it hurts us a lot more than it helps. We should want to cultivate positive emotions because negative emotions spiral into worse emotions. A positive thought cancels out a negative thought. And when terrible things happen, which they inevitably will over the course of your entire life, you'll be better prepared because positive emotions enhance resilience. Your mind is like a flashlight. Do you really want to spend your whole life shining it on things you don't like? Join us next week when we take an in-depth look at reframing and really get into how to masterfully create happiness with nothing more than thought. If you liked this video and want to be notified anytime a new video is released, please hit that subscribe button. Also, I'm pleased to announce that the Barton Blueprint now has an official Facebook and Pinterest page. There's a bunch of extra content like infographics of some of the takeaway tips, as well as fantastic mental health quotes by many of the most notable names in the field. The links are down in the description. And if you ever want to read the books talked about in the episode, I always include a link to the book in the description below. Thank you for taking care of each other and taking care of yourself. I'll see you next week.